Hi, everyone who's coming in. We're going to give people just a second to get all logged in before we get started. So we still see a lot of people jumping into the meeting, so we'll wait just another minute or so for everyone who's getting the password and meeting code typed in. If you don't mind, it very much helps me as a presenter if you want to turn your video on. So if a couple of you are in places where it's okay to turn your video on, it really helps me to get some live feedback and be able to see a face or two rather than just talking to the picture of myself. Oh, thank you. I already got 2 people. That's great. Oh, yeah, and people are still logging in, so we'll wait just another minute. Maybe I'll get the presentation started over here. All right, I think the rush of people logging in has slowed down just a little bit. So I'll get started just very briefly talking about some of the features that I'm going to use. Those of you who have your cameras on, that's great. I'll get some feedback. If you have your camera on and you have a question, you can feel free to raise your physical hand, and there's a good chance I will see you and I'll want to call on you if you have questions. But you can also feel free to drop questions into the chat box. I can't guarantee I'll get to them right away, but hopefully we'll get a chance to look at them. I encourage questioning throughout rather than waiting till the end. I think it makes it more of a dialogue. We've got you in the Zoom meeting instead of the Zoom webinar so that you can interact back with us. We don't want this to just be one-sided. So welcome to Building a Virtual Zoo. My name is Peter, and I am standing here in the Aquarium Conference Center at the Omaha Zoo. This is a part of the zoo that you've probably only seen if you've come to a special event, but it's a great place where I can actually take my mask off indoors. My co-host is in a little bit different spot. My co-host is Julie Anderson. Julie, where are you right now?
Hi, everybody. Yes, I am actually in our new sea lion exhibit. So exciting, right? If you haven't seen it, but I've got my back to a corner right now, so you can't see. So we'll be taking a look here later on, hopefully, at some of our sea lions. So we thought we'd make this as interactive and fun as we can. As Peter mentioned, my name is Julie, and I'm one of the program managers here at the zoo within the education department. And I also run our after-school program, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that later. So I think Peter and I wanted to start you guys off with some questions. And so my first question, if you've been to the zoo before, you know that we're a rather large organization. But my question is, how many animals do you guys think we take care of on a daily basis? And we'll take averages or estimates if you're not positive, but if you want to, I don't know, Peter, if they want to drop it in the chat box.
Chat. Yep, they can drop their guess in the chat box. Oh,
how many animals do you think? Now we're not going to talk about. Hold on a second here. As we're talking, I'm going to turn my camera because one of the sea lions just popped up there on the beach. While he's there, I'm taking advantage of it. We're not talking about all the fish. If you come here and feed the koi. Or I'm not counting every single little coral. If you're smart and you know that coral is an animal, we're not going to count all that.
All right, so we've got some guesses, Julie. We've got
all right.
Danielle from Shadron guessed about 800. I've got a guess from Kozad of about, wow, this is so cool. We got the other side of the state participating.
Yeah.
Guessing 2,000. Sydney from Hastings guessed 1,000. Deb guessed 450. Another guess of 1,500.
Pretty cold, and it's cold here too. By the way, my hands are freezing right now. But
oh, now we're jumping up.
You guys are way cold. Let's
now
put some more guesses in there.
Guess of 5,000. That's our biggest one so far from Kelsey.
Oh, higher than that.
Well, let's.
This is where we like to incorporate some math with kids. if someone put 5,000 in, I'd ask them to do some multiplication for me.
And
10,000.
oh, they're getting bigger. So I've switched to the slide that reveals
There
the
we
answer.
go.
There are about 30,000 animals that we take care of here at the zoo. That's a lot of animals. And the zoo is not just another place where there's a whole bunch of animals to see. We're a group that's held to the absolute highest standard of animal care through our AZA, Association of Zoos and Aquariums accreditation. And we've got some world records too. Julie, what world records do we have at our zoo? Can you list them all off?
No, but I was reading the comment about someone who couldn't handle 3 of their cats, and I feel your pain. I have 3 dogs, but we won't talk about personal pets. So world records. I believe we have the largest glazed geodesic dome, which is our desert dome, if you guys have seen that. The largest indoor rainforest. Oh, Peter's helping me cheat here. The largest indoor elephant holding. And Nebraska is lucky enough, the Heartland is lucky enough to have one of the top ranked zoos in the world. We're consistently ranked in the top 5 in the whole world. So it's wonderful that we have this resource available, and we want to make sure that you guys know what all we have that we can help with.
Yep. And I think we did your introduction, Julie, but we skipped mine. So my job here, I'm Peter Brunette. I am the outreach coordinator. And so my job has been to do all of our Zoo to You programs where we go out to visit kids, both as an after school provider and for summer reading programs. And I'm also the person who is in charge of our virtual field trip program, the same program that Julie started developing back in 2002. To age you just a little bit, Julie.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, 18 years ago.
But our education department does a lot of other things. Julie, do you want to talk about our formal education?
Yeah, absolutely. We some of you may be familiar with, we have some schools here at the zoo. And so we have Little Lions, which is our preschool program. So we have preschool, pre-K. That program is ran by the zoo and is open. It's a tuition-based program. And anybody can enroll in that from ages 3 through 5. And then we've had a wonderful opportunity to have a great partnership over many years now. We have a zoo kindergarten. We have 2 classes here at the zoo. And we're actually a partner with Bancroft Elementary, which their logo's up there in the corner. They're just up the street from the zoo, and they've been adopted school partners of ours for many, many years. And so those kids actually come to school at the zoo in the education center. That's a new building that we opened in 2017. And so those kids actually have the zoo as their classroom. So that's where they go out and learn and play. Then we have a middle school that is here from King Science and Technology Magnet, another partner of ours. And so those students enroll in the Middle School Zoo Academy, and they come to the zoo when school starts on Monday. They will be coming about every other day. So they're here a couple times a week, and they take zoo exhibit design and zoo architecture courses, amongst other things. And let's see here. What was the last one, Peter? I lost the screen.
Zoo Academy, the high
The
school
Zoo Academy. How could I forget the Zoo Academy?
That was the easy one. That's why I took away your notes.
Right, the Zoo Academy. The Zoo Academy is our high school program. And so those are high school juniors and seniors. And again, that's another wonderful partnership program we have with multiple school districts. I believe we have 6 districts in partnership with us from the Omaha metro area right now. And so those students come to the zoo every day for class, and they do all of their classes here potentially. So we have math, social studies, many natural sciences, English, and then at some point they do work with keepers or any of our research staff, and they get opportunities to be exposed to careers working in the natural sciences or in any STEM related field. So So those are just a few of our formal education programs that we have available.
And then we have a lot more than just formal education and field trips. I know when I talk to people about the zoo, they tend to think of the zoo as being a field trip destination. And we like to think of ourselves as being a lot more hands-on and having a lot more different opportunities, because we have so many ways we can work with kids, both in school and out of school, for science, for animals, for environmental issues and conservation. You can see these kids here in the picture are actually testing frogs for the chytrid fungus as part of our citizen science program. We do citizen science here and also at the Wildlife Safari Park. We have ways where we can give tours to adults on golf carts so that they can access parts of the zoo they wouldn't be able to see. We offer Boy Scout, Girl Scout classes. And one of my favorite things is actually how I started at the zoo. Can you see this?
Our nocturnal education program is a series of campouts that occur at the zoo in several different locations throughout the zoo grounds and at our Wildlife Safari Park. On the zoo grounds, campers stay in the aquarium, they stay in the jungle, they stay in the desert dome in our new Madagascar building, and sometimes we even pop up tents on the jungle floor or out by the bears exhibit when the weather's warmer. Our Desert Dome Camp Out program is located in the Desert Dome, and with that program, it's a very unique experience. Quite a few of those animals are more active in the evening and early morning time frame, so they're able to.
So that was a sneak preview of the way I got into the zoo, which was one of the most fun jobs around. You get to take kids and give them tours of the zoo at night, sleep in a sleeping bag on the floor of the zoo, and then give them a tour in the morning, and all these times when there aren't people all throughout the zoo. And it's something that if you're outside of the Omaha metro, it's a great way to think about utilizing the zoo to maybe do a camp out, and then because you don't have to drive both ways in the same day. And Julie, looks like I popped up your slide here.
Yeah, I apologize for the cough, everybody. That is allergy related, I can promise you. So, so yeah, I mentioned earlier that we do also, we're a lead agency for after school programs. And so Bancroft Elementary, I mentioned earlier, they're just up the road from us. And so they are part of our after school program, K through 6. And then Castellar Elementary is also not very far, just not too far off from 13th Street. And they are K through 5. So those students, we meet with them daily. We provide the staff for the program. And I'm sure if you guys are from the Omaha area, you know the routine. We provide a warm meal for them and after school program, but we're a STEM-based program. And so we really focus a lot on the science, technology, engineering, math, and also the arts. And so the kids, of course, pre-COVID, we did get them here to the zoo 1 to 2 times a week. And so they had great and wonderful opportunities to interact with different animals here at the zoo, different exhibits, and also keepers at the zoo. And so not only are we looking at, you know, just animals, but part of why we're presenting to you guys today is we want to try and get you to thinking out of the box, or I like to say, thinking like there is no box. So the zoo is not just animals. There's a lot that goes on here. We talked about exhibit design a little bit already. So there's a lot of engineering that happens at the zoo. You can't do your job without math, and you can't do your job without English and being able to read and write. So we incorporate all of that into our programming, and yeah, those kids get wonderful exposure. And we hope that we've actually seen some of them come back and enroll in our middle school program and even our high school program. And I hate to admit it, because I've been here so long, that some of them are employees now at the zoo as adults. So so yeah, that program, we've been, I want to say, probably about 6 years now. So yeah, anything, I like to say anything and everything that can pass through your mind, we can probably find a job for it here at the zoo. Somebody does that at the zoo. And we're also very curious people. And needless to say, we love animals. That's why we work here. But we also have lots of questions. So we like to get the kids asking questions and just thinking about, you know, what can I do in the future? What is available to me in the future?
Yep, and I know my daughter is really looking forward to ZAP starting again so that she can get back to ZAP, I think Monday, right? Monday will be
Yep.
her first day because she's in Ada K. So she's really excited for ZAP to be a part of her day again and have that structure and routine. All right, so, oh, I forgot this one moved.
Oh yeah.
Could have been moving the whole time. Wasn't just a still shot. Here's the kids playing at the adventure trails on one of their zoo visits. But I'm going to jump ahead and talk about my programs here at the zoo before we talk about how everything had to go virtual. We're getting up to that. So my programs, I run our after school programs. We visit last year, I believe we hit about 12 different schools as a provider. Some schools having us every single day. The Council Bluffs schools would have us for a semester or a year to run a zoo club. Most of the Omaha schools, we'd come out for just one session for 8 weeks. We tended to find that our sweet spot where people are really looking for this content is K through 2, but we've also worked with middle school after school clubs as well. We also used to do a lot of assemblies back when you could group all the kids together into the same room and have a lot of fun and do interactive assemblies, which is what
Also, all names of habitats. And if you think it's a habitat that Ida lives in, give me 2 big thumbs up. But if I name a habitat like Nebraska, where it's snowy, what do you think you're gonna do? Are they right, Holly?
It isn't even, it's actually a chimpanzee.
Holly, do you want to do one more so far? I think they're doing good. They might get to see this. Oh, you're right. This isn't a movie or an game.
No, it doesn't have
It would be this long. See, now you can tell that it's a short sleeve t-shirt.
So that was one of our assemblies. We've also been offering virtual field trips, as I said a moment ago, since 2002, which is a very long time ago. I was trying to watch some George Bush clips and remember what life was like back in 2002 when we started our virtual program. And we've been focusing always on habitats and basically the areas where we have a strong internet connection, running virtual field trips for kids in class. And it started out, kids would need a big dedicated internet connection. They'd have to call the tech guy from the district. Getting these programs together was really tricky to pull off technologically and in the classroom. We have 5 standard programs, which are the Desert Program, the Elephants Program, the Oceans Program, a Penguins Program, and the Rainforest Program, which are based on the different habitats. And those are programs we've been offering for years. They're very polished, they're very interactive, and they work great for kids in a classroom, or if you're grouping together a smaller number of kids.
What I found on
the clip from one of our virtual field trips that we did. This is about 2 years ago, was this recording.
No, I found all of them and I kept them here in my treasure chest. But it turns out some of the things that I found on the beach were not supposed to be in the ocean. They were trash. So I'm gonna need your help. I'll pull something out of this bin and I want you to tell me out loud if you think that what I have in here is trash or if it's treasure. Got it? So treasure is stuff that's supposed to be in the ocean. Trash are things that are not supposed to be in the ocean. Let's see, let's open the treasure chest. Oh my gosh. Ooh, let's see, the first thing I found was this. What do you think? Should this be in the ocean? Trash? Yeah, this is absolutely treasure. Look at that. That is a shell. How about this plastic bottle here? Okay. Trash or treasure? Trash. Yuck. Definitely trash. What about this weird thing? Treasure. Really? What do you think it is?
I don't know.
It's definitely not a rock. And you definitely don't have them in Wisconsin, except maybe at the supermercado.
The shells?
This is a coconut.
Oh, that's a coconut?
Yeah. This is what a coconut looks like after it falls off the tree. The ones you get at the store. Wait, treasure. And oh my God. Do you think this could happen to a real turtle?
Yes.
Yeah, and do you think that this could happen to the kind of turtles that live in Wisconsin too?
Yes.
Yeah, this does. And do you think that the fish littered all the plastic? Is it from Dory? I can think of 3 things that you can do from right there in Wisconsin to help not just animals in Wisconsin, but in the ocean and all over the world. And all 3 things I'm thinking of start with the letter R. And I'll let you think of those, but we have to go back to the tank because check it out. Oh, that's not the right spot. Let's try this one. See if I can find it. Let's see how quick I am. Look at that. Harold woke up, and I think she needs to go breathe some air.
So this year, we were having a great year. We were doing our virtual programs. We did a big program with Morrill Hall where we reached almost 10,000 kids talking about prehistoric sharks and animals versus animals here in Nebraska. Our camp out program had booked more programs than any time before. Our after school program was going great. We got to do a partnership with the Omaha Symphony. So we were sitting pretty through February. The zoo was looking like we were going to have one of our best years ever. And then March. So in March, everything changed. Suddenly, I was much more interested in what Pete Ricketts had to say than at any point in my life before. And the zoo closed down and everything closed and everything changed. And as a zoo, we had a big decision because we're the education department and suddenly the kids couldn't come here. But we saw our mission of helping to educate, inspire, and engage people to mean that now it's actually more important than ever that we become a voice for people in the community, that when they want to connect with something, we give them someone to connect to. When they needed education because the schools were closed, we were able to educate them. This little video is here because it's one of my favorite things because the zoo was completely empty and most animals kind of liked that. They were like, no more kids, but these penguins, trying to get the penguins to play. These penguins were desperate for people to be around. You can see them just swimming and literally chasing me as I ran back and forth through this empty zoo, getting the penguins to swim because we weren't sure if we'd be able to even host virtual programs at that point. And so we put together a Zoo from Home series that we got started as soon as the zoo closed. Schools weren't ready to book virtual programs. They weren't ready to do things, but parents were looking for something at home. So our marketing department worked with the zookeepers to get regular videos out every day that were of animals or animals interacting with zookeepers. And we put out daily educational worksheets And I personally made a
I'm
whole
Peter, the
series of
education department
do
at
from home
Omaha's
videos
Zoo and
recorded
Aquarium.
in my
Here
house
is another
and with my
edition of
family
Zoo
to give
from
more of an interactive educational
Interactive
nature. We didn't
educational
want
video
it
is
just to
part
be
of the
passive
series
kids
original
watching videos.
every
We
day
wanted
to
things
help
that kids
you
could engage with, have a
zoo
face
into
and a way to engage and interact with the
We
zoo.
also have keeper videos and downloadable educational activities. You can get them all at omahazoo.com. Today, we're learning about the eye. You probably know this animal from the movie Madagascar, and it's very elusive because it's only awake during the nighttime, which means it's called what? Right, nocturnal. And I've heard that somewhere in my home studio, there is an eye hiding. I haven't been able to find it. So I recruited local safari guide Penelope, who I've heard knows where to find all the wild animals that live in this living room. Penelope, can you come and help me find the eye?
I heard he was around here. I think I heard him last night.
We want to be really quiet, Penelope. The eye is very skittish and might be scared of us.
Sometimes the animals hide under here, Peter. There. Oh, I think I know where he's at, Peter. Sometimes they're down the stairs.
Penelope, I thought eyes lived high up in the trees, and you keep looking down low.
There he is, Peter.
There's an
There he
eye.
is.
Thank you, Penelope. Let's talk about some of the adaptations that make the eye so.
And so those videos had interactive parts. There was always a question where kids would do something like a thumbs up, thumbs down to engage with the video rather than sit back and watch passively. That was one of the ones by the point where I'd kind of figured out how to make it work and it looked pretty good. But we just dove right in. The other thing that was happening then is schools, once they realized that they weren't going to come back, started saying, we still want to do our spring field trips. We're meeting over Zoom. Can you do our spring field trip, but over Zoom? And so we already had this virtual field trip program, and we expanded it to do at-home lessons. This is a screenshot of one of my groups I worked with. We allowed groups to do up to 100 kids, which was too many, but it was a fun learning experience and a good way to just make things happen, to just get kids in, give them the connection, give them the experience. And because we'd already been working towards interactivity, these programs weren't just me on a camera walking around the zoo. We were still interacting and engaging. And we really thought that that was the key, or we still believe that that is the key to what we're doing, is that kids aren't just passively watching. If you just want to passively watch, Wildcrats exists and it's great. And they spend millions of dollars making those episodes, and it's better than anything I can do if you just want a movie. But we also created some brand new virtual content. Julie?
Yes, I'm here.
I see sea lions.
So I'm in a new spot, if you guys can't tell. I'm
I'll
actually
stop the
in
share so they can
the
see.
viewing. Yeah, there we go. We'll take just a quick look at this. This is our viewing window. So it's going to be like you're in a sea cave, and there we go. That's Chino. That's our male sea lion that just swam by there, if you guys got a good look at him. But in the Pacific Northwest, you're gonna see a lot of sea caves. And so it is very dark where I'm standing right now. If I were to stand in front, I'm just gonna be a nice silhouette. So paying attention to where your cameras are, you guys have probably learned that now, but you guys wanna see sea lions and not me. So yeah, the sea lions are really enjoying, they're loving their new exhibit. Peter had started to mention new programs that we started. And so we have done the virtual field trip program for about 18 years, but we actually ended up taking our classes and day camps and making them virtual and online. So I'm going to go ahead and mute my microphone because I think it's a little noisy right now. And Peter's going to play this video and then we'll chat just a minute.
African grasslands, where today we have 2 of our male lions.
Peter, if you want to mute the sound on that.
Yep.
There we go. I don't know how loud the background is. There's a lot of people, of course, down here right now. But when you guys are watching that, Chino came right up to the window. It was perfect, and he was right in the camera. So hopefully he'll come back around again. But the virtual day camps, virtual after school program, we invited our after school kids through the spring and summer, to actually become part of that program. And so there we go. There's Chino. Imagine being able to be in the water with an animal like that. I don't know what Chino's weight is, but a male California sea lion can be close to 600 pounds, 700 pounds. So the water's a little deceiving. It makes them look small, and they are not. But yes, our after school kids, we invited them to join those camps and those classes. And we have any topic and every topic you could imagine. Even if, I know maybe later we might look at a slide about an art class that we did, but we are connecting conservation and empathy and a love for our environment and animals. And then they're learning how to draw. So we did a whole series of ocean animals, and then we moved on and did a whole series of African grasslands animals.
The Henry Dorley.
So it was really great to be able to have that opportunity. It was stressful at first to get the programs up and going, but totally worth it. It was so fun to, there's a kid hand, there we go. It was fun to be able to be challenged and find these new programs. And if I'm yelling, it's just because I feel like I need to talk above everybody. So I'm not yelling at you guys.
Keep cutting away just as the sea lion goes by. Keep cutting to this video from showing the behind the scenes of our virtual classes and things. And so you'll notice one of the differences between these pictures and some of the others is our virtual field trips had started with the thought of we have to be on grounds the whole time. And when we started doing classes and camps, we started thinking about, you know, it's not just about seeing the zoo, it's about engaging with the zoo and being a part of different activities and participating in different activities. So we started doing more mixed things like Julie and I are doing here, where we can have a presenter who's in one location that's easy to set up. So I'm in the conference center, this is a nice easy setup. And then we've got Julie down at the sea lions, where if her internet goes bad or if it gets a little bit crazy, the entire program's not dependent on her. We can still cut back to me. We can cut and we get to see the animals live instead of just on video. Because I know that these live shots, I can even see it in the handful of faces I've got on my grid. Everyone's more excited when the sea lions come by live than when I show you a pre-recorded shot of something that might even be a little bit more exciting and cool. And I don't think it's just because none of you have been to the sea lion exhibit yet. Or have any of you, has anyone who's out there actually seen the new sea lion exhibit yet? Oh, wow, a couple of you have.
Yeah, I don't see enough excited comments out there, Peter. This is my favorite exhibit by far that we've opened.
There were about 3 thumbs up from our live people.
Good.
But one of them was,
the crowd here is loving it right now.
One of them was a zoo staff member, so that one doesn't count. So I'm going to go back to the presentation here. And the other things that we started doing, I've got my chat up, sorry. Did that clear away my gray box? One of the other things that we started doing is some virtual programs to replace other adult programming. We've always offered some adult programming, but because education tends to be more child-focused, we've been a little more child-focused. So we went and we put out some programs geared more towards adults with our virtual behind-the-scenes programs, virtual backstage tours. These are also programs that we've found people have a lot of interest in. With the camps, we were able to connect to people who said, we would have loved to go to a camp, but we live too far away. So they were able to connect to the zoo through camps. With some of the virtual behind the scenes tours, we were able to connect with people who didn't have the mobility to go into some of the behind the scenes areas that we would normally visit. Here is a clip from one of those behind the scenes tours. This is to the elephant exhibit.
If they would lift their foot up a little bit, we would give them a treat and be like, oh,
This is one of the
that's what we wanted to do. And so then
of the behind the
they
scenes
might lift their foot a little higher and a little higher. And then just over time, we were able to capture all of those movements into one big behavior. And so most of the girls have all of their feet pretty down pat. We can cut on all of their feet. And so after that, we started training different medical behaviors, the blood draw, for example, and just getting them used to us stepping behind their ear, touching with our hands. And then the other one that we've been working on is a trunk wash. And what that entails is they will hold their trunks out for us and then we'll put water or saline in their trunks. They will lift their trunk up into the air so that water goes down their trunks, and then they'll reach their trunk out back to us and blow all of that water into a bag. And we can send that off for testing. The main test for that is tuberculosis. So we'll do that.
And then you can
so they can enter the crate,
this
and then we
more of a
have
traditional
doors on the
tour.
side and
Walks
the front
around
where we're
to all
able
the different
to
areas
give
to
them
show how we care
hay.
for the elephants in their job.
Hey, Peter, mute the volume on your video. There you go.
There you go. I was trying to talk over it. So we had a lot of success. One of the best ways to visualize it, and this map is not just this year, but this map is showing the reach of our traditional virtual field trip program for the past, I believe, 4 years. But all those green push pins are groups that we reached this previous school year. You can see we've been able to connect to various parts of the country and world. Our virtual day camps had a similar reach to this, but because it was individuals, it was a little harder for us to track visually. But one thing that I found really interesting with the virtual field trips, I've always been, it's so great. We connected to kids in Nunavut. We connected to kids in Alaska. We connected to kids in British Columbia. But this year we found that we were making a lot more connections locally here in Nebraska. That especially with the coronavirus, people were wanting to connect to the local zoo. And if you look at this map, you know, we were connecting all throughout the entire state. And something really unique that happened is if you look up close at the Omaha and Lincoln areas, we hadn't connected for virtual field trips with any of the Lincoln public schools until this year. And then this year we were able to give all those Lincoln zip codes, and there's just one push pin per zip code on these maps. We were able to give all those Lincoln zip codes and a lot of the Omaha zip codes that connection that they haven't had to the zoo before. So it was almost a surprise to me that suddenly, instead of just being like, oh, now we can reach the world, we're actually through this way able to reach the local groups who felt cut off from the zoo. I want to talk about the things that worked really well for us. And one of those things is that everything we're doing is hosted live. We did get a lot of reach through those online passive videos. They had over 100,000 views between Facebook and YouTube. So a lot of people were watching them. Penelope, who's now my wife, who you saw in that video, actually got recognized today. She sent me a text. She's like, someone recognized me from the zoo video. I couldn't believe it. We've also really found that basic things like thumbs up, thumbs down, questions and activities really help. One of my co-presenters, like with kids, likes to do a thumbs up if you're awake. And, you know, just the idea that you're moving, you're engaged, you can't just kind of tune off and tune out, really helps make these programs more interesting for people. I like to do a lot of stretch breaks. You saw with the little kids, I get them up and out of their seats and moving, which is something you'll see here. I'm going to mute this clip, but I'll let it play while I'm chatting. These kids are hopping like penguins, like rock hopper penguins, trying to do it using just their toes instead of also using their knees, because penguins can't hop with their knees, because their knees are fused together like hips inside their body. We also had a lot of success asking people to do more. With our virtual field trips, we had a lot of kids who'd sign up at the end, and we structured it so teachers didn't need to do a lot of prep. They just needed to turn it on, set the kids down and go. Over the summer, we found, well, why can't we send a materials list? Why can't we say, hey, you're going to be doing a craft today, you're going to be doing an experiment, here's the things you're going to need. Get a whole bunch of salt, get an egg, get some water. We're going to see how much salt it takes to see if we can make this egg neutrally buoyant and do a science experiment right in the middle of our program. And then the biggest thing is the questions. So when I look at adult groups, especially, they may not ask a lot of questions, but they really appreciate that if they do have one, we're there for them, we're active and we're live. They're not just paying for a pre-recorded stream, that if they want to interact, they can, whether or not they choose to. And I found, I mentioned this to you, and I'll say it again, if you have questions, you can submit them now. With kids in particular, if you wait all the way to the end for questions, they've completely forgotten what you talked about. So with little kids, I like to stop and say, does anyone have any questions 3 or 4 times throughout the presentation? And that's been really helpful. And even targeting it. Hey, we just learned about jellyfish. Do you have questions about jellyfish? And that also helps eliminate all of the stories that you get when the kids want to tell you about their vacation to Jacksonville, Florida last December. So this video
Circle.
is one of our arts and crafts. We've incorporated a lot of art into our thing. So this is
A squiggle.
who used to be one of our
And an oval. I'm going to start with my circle here at the top and make an elephant head right in the middle of my paper.
Draw an elephant.
Now that we have our elephant head, I'm going to make a second circle right below it for the body of the elephant. Make sure that the top of your second circle starts right at the bottom where your head is. All right, now we've got our head and our body for our elephant. The next thing we're going to do is add the elephant's legs. So we're going to use our rectangle here and add some elephant legs. I think today I want my elephant to be sitting. So I'm going to start my legs in the middle of my body here. And bring 2 straight lines down and connect them across. Do the same thing here. Bring 2 straight lines down and connect them across.
Apologize to
Now
anyone
since my
following along,
elephant
we're going to
is
skip to the end.
here, and I'm just gonna put it behind our elephant to show grass. Now make sure when you put the zigzag shape in for the grass that you're not zigzagging it through the elephant, because then he's not sitting on the grass is sitting on him. And as far as I know, I've never seen grass sit on an elephant before. Elephants are kind of big. It's hard for anything to sit on an elephant. Now the very last step we're going to do is put our name so we can show off our elephant. And there you have it, the basic shapes to making an elephant.
One of the other things that really worked well for us is some of the ways that we've been managing the Zoom rooms. And you can see this picture here. This is something that we had done a little bit of in big programs before. And you can see that Julie and I are doing this a little bit, which is to make sure that the person who's presenting is not also the person who's running and hosting the meeting. It's really, really helpful for us and all of our programs to have somebody on an extra device who can do things like mute someone, especially when you're sharing your screen. You don't get to see all the participants if something's happening. That's been a huge benefit to us to have an additional person who's responsible for all of those things in our Zoom meetings. We've also really liked the multiple locations and the mobility that we've been able to come up with. So Julie, speaking of multiple locations, where are you right now?
I'm at another vantage point of our sea lion exhibit. So let me get on this side here. You guys are fine. Everyone thinks that they're walking in front of the camera, but the camera is actually facing the other way. So this is our amphitheater at the sea lion exhibit. So I thought I'd get back out in the daylight so you guys could actually see me and maybe see a few sea lions too. And yeah, as Peter mentioned, as far as setup goes, I am working off an iPad that is on a Wi-Fi connection right now for the video. And then my sound is actually coming through my cell phone, which is cellular connection. And then I have my Beats earphones in right now. So that's my backup for backup. So if my Wi-Fi goes down, I have cellular connection good enough on my cell phone to run the program should I need to, or if the battery dies on one and not the other.
Yeah, and one of the other things that's on here that I wanted to say that I've been doing that you might not have noticed is we're always using the spotlight feature. I did another presentation where I described that as kind of the golden rule of Zoom, is that you always want to have the person who you're having talk spotlighted, because it's too easy for that view to jump away to someone else, especially when there's kids who aren't very good with the mute. And I really like to use spotlighting as well when people have questions. Kids Well, that was fun. My computer had been beeping at me and it decided to die. So one of the other things that we've been having a lot of success with is that there's always multiple devices. So if anything happens, we can jump right back in. So here I am jumping over to my additional device that had been sharing the presentation. I'll get off of me and back to the presentation. And at the zoo, it actually happens more than I would like to admit that our computer loses the connection. Oh, this is the wrong one. Because kids will unplug things. Technology is fickle. I think my battery backup got destroyed because a little kid unplugged it the other day. And it had been beeping at me and my computer's back. But we'll just talk here. I'm going to jump back into our presentation. And not worry about my other computer. So one of the things that we've had is successes with different technology and using different technology in different situations. Specifically, I am connecting from our big cart. That's why I had nice picture and nice audio before I just switched over to being connected purely from my laptop here. But we've also been using, Julie was mentioning, she's got an iPad, she's got a cell phone, we're on cellular connection, we're on Wi-Fi. We've found that basically whatever you've got, you should try to use. Any technology you can make work for a virtual connection is great. It opens up new possibilities. It's not that, hey, here's the best way to connect, everyone should do that. Whenever we incorporate new technologies, we've found a new way to use it. So we get a new technology, we've got a new way we can use that technology in our presentation. If you're looking for a couple of quick upgrades to your tech, that one on the right, the Logitech BCC 950, we found through all the different tech we had, working with the classroom teachers for Zoo Academy, working with the presenters for our virtual ZAP programs, that's the one that everyone wanted to use because it's so easy. It just plugs in. It's got a nice camera. It's got audio. You're good to go. It's even got a remote. If you're just sitting around doing a lot of video conferencing on your desk, then that Logitech C920 camera is a great choice, but they used to be reasonably priced at about $60. I've heard they're up to $200 now because they're in such high demand. The Blue Snowball microphones are another really nice choice if you care about audio quality. We also found we upgraded how we held cameras so that it wasn't as shaky. We have a cheap handheld gimbal that we've got. We use a lot of tripods. Julie, are you on a tripod today?
Yes, yeah. I actually have 2 tripods. I don't know if you switch back to the iPad screen here and I can show you guys.
Sure, yeah, let me.
Yep.
I'm a little more awkward now.
So yeah, so I have my phone on this tripod and that's where my audio is coming from, as I mentioned. And then the camera is on the iPad that's facing me right now. So it actually works pretty slick. And I chuckle because when I started 18 years ago doing distance learning, I was pushing, we tried to find a picture, but we didn't. This was before we had all these wonderful handheld devices. And my device was a 200-pound tube television before there were flat panel TVs and with a giant cart. And so I actually had to call in backup to help me push that thing because it weighed over 300 pounds and I couldn't get it up a hill to save my life. So this to me is amazing that we can just run around now and not have to be tethered to anything.
Yeah, and I'll go quick through some of these slides here. If you're interested in talking about the tech, send me an email. If you're looking for really a high-end video conferencing camera, we prefer this Huddle Cam that's down there. That doesn't require, or that doesn't have the audio built in so that you can pick your own audio rather than have it built in. Some of the conference setups aren't there. And we've really liked the Powerbeats headphones for loud environments because they're able to be sanitized and they have pretty good audio quality. We've struggled a lot. If you look at this picture, I think a lot of you know exactly what's happening, which is that was a video clip I was playing for one of our desert programs when some kids started drawing annotations on the screen. This is before I knew how to turn that setting off. We also went through a big major Zoom bombing. I was doing in March, right at the beginning, there was a church in Minnesota that was like, we're gonna do a family zoo visit since we can't meet at the church. They posted the connection information to their Facebook. And people came in, they started filling the chat with just awful things. They tried to screen share inappropriate things. And I'm pretty good at Zoom. I was able to get them off in a couple minutes, but it still was a really strongly negative experience for these parents who had their kids on this Zoom call. So we tend to go over rather than under with our security. These are all of our recommendations for if you want to really have a secure lockdown meeting and never have an issue again, which is what happened with us. The big one, because the zoo is a target, because it's a big public organization, it seems like, hey, it might be fun to disrupt the zoo. So we had to stop using a regular recurring meeting and start doing unique meeting IDs and passwords for every single meeting. And we turned off screen annotation so the kids couldn't write on the screen. I also prefer turning off virtual backgrounds. That's another backdoor where people can share videos, only allowing the host to share screen, only allowing chat with the hosts, all these things that we've instituted just as a precaution to keep that from happening again. And if you're with a school or an after-school program, you're also a target for this Zoom bombing and this disruption because older brothers, kids in the class who want to disrupt the meeting, there's ways they can do it anonymously. So it's important to really try to protect and lock this down. We also struggle a lot with video and internet. Here I am doing a presentation and my computer crashes on me. And so we went and we've tested our cell phones. We tested my Android cell phone with Julie's Apple cell phone, and we found different video quality. on Zoom. We found different video quality on Teams using these same devices. And we tested the hardwired connections and the Wi-Fi and the cellular, and we found we would have different success with every different device, every different kind of connection. And so we spent more time than I cared to admit testing everything. For those elephant behind the scenes tours, we actually found a very specific mix. We needed to have an Apple cell phone with unlimited data on Verizon connected to the Power Beats. If we didn't have all those pieces in place, we didn't get a good program. And we figured that out just through testing amongst ourselves and watching back from different devices. The other exciting thing is I used to be able to say, the zoo connects through Zoom. Here's our Zoom link, you can use Zoom. And then they would all connect through Zoom, and I got good at Zoom and they'd use it. These are all of the different softwares that I have used for video conferencing since March. Not all through the zoo. Through the zoo, I have not logged on to Twitch, but I actually went to a virtual conference that, because of video bandwidth, thought that they had a Zoom chat and a Zoom connecting area, but then the actual broadcasts were on Twitch because Twitch has 60 frame per second video, I believe, and nothing else does. I'll give you a second to see if you can figure out what all these video conferencing logos are. Just by show of hands, has anyone used all 8 of those? So I want to get to some takeaways here. Uh-oh. But I wanted to come back to us because we haven't seen us for a while and see if, Julie, did you have anything you wanted to add? I've been talking at them for a couple of minutes here.
No, I do feel like I should give a presentation to everybody though, because I have an audience in the amphitheater, so we might be chatting afterwards.
All right, sounds good. I will rush through the takeaways. We're almost at an hour.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure we'll have some questions.
Exactly for this one, and they should not have told me that. So the takeaways: connect in every way you can, everything that's available to you, and make sure you test, especially if you're showing a video conference to kids rather than being the presenter, and have someone who's not the presenter. And if you're the only person on your own, have a backup plan. Your computer dying, your phone dying, these things happen. Julie and I both have 2 devices because we know that this is just a part of being a Zoom presenter, is that you might have to jump over to another connection to another device. But if you're setting it up for kids, it's not the same as setting up your cell phone on your own. And this is something I've been experiencing. I think Zoom is the 21st century version of when I was a kid and the teachers would try to connect their VCRs. So here's my guide on how to operate a VCR in your classroom. Step 1 is to try to do it yourself. Step 2, you can ask another adult in the room for help, and maybe they can help you get the VCR all set up for the kids in the class, or the Zoom room all set up. Step 3, you let the smart kid try who's been bugging you to let him try since you started struggling to get the VCR set up 10 minutes ago. When that doesn't work, we're going to call in the AV or the IT guy to try to get Zoom set up on your classroom projector and classroom speakers. And then finally, when that doesn't work, we're going to give up and try a completely different activity. As after-school providers, the equipment that you have is sometimes more locked down than for the classroom teachers. Getting the speakers to work through Zoom is not intuitive. Getting the projector to work through Zoom and the microphone to work is not intuitive. So you really want to practice and test setting up on that school equipment, because you're probably going to find it's much more challenging to get set up than you'd expected. Our final takeaway here is to just try it out and see what works. If we had just waited and said, we're gonna plan, we're gonna make sure that we know how things are gonna be once COVID's done, we're gonna put these perfect plans into place, we wouldn't have done anything. We did about 1 million different things here because we just had that we're gonna do it, we're gonna reach people, we're not gonna let anything stop us from reaching people and connecting to kids and helping bring kids environmental education. We had a lot of plans that didn't come to fruition as well, where we started planning things, we had to change it, we had to backpedal. But the fact that we were out there and we were doing things allowed us to reach tens or hundreds of thousands of people that we absolutely could not have done if we'd all been sitting around, huddling up and trying to make it perfect. And so just getting out and doing something is the absolute best advice. And that anytime you can connect is better than just no connection and disappearing for the kids that you want to reach. Finally, it's not a TV show. Virtually, you want to address the audience members specifically. You want to be interacting, and you want to get
Terrifying! Wow.
and that's how you're going to separate yourself.
Maybe
from a
my
TV
polar
show.
bear is
Especially at
too
a zoo
cute to
where
be
there's
scared.
so much free educational content out there. It's important that we separate ourselves from the passive content by having this interactivity with the kids. And then the final message is that blended learning is not going anywhere. This is not the end. This is not, here's what we did during COVID, now everything's back to normal. We expect that this is the new normal and that virtual is going to be a way that we reach kids more and more and more than it ever was before. This is our contact information. I flipped through a lot of those slides fast. You can feel free to email or call us. We'll also get the presentation without the videos uploaded. I may try to upload a copy with some of the videos for those of you who really want to see them, but the PowerPoint is massive. So we'll try to get one with at least the text so you can go through and read that text. And then we have some time for questionings. Julie, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, like Peter said, just try it. Don't be afraid. We had a lot of staff who had never done virtual, even though they're on their phones all the time, video chatting. Suddenly the virtual classroom scared them, and we have now gone 2 months in, and I don't even have to check in on them. They're doing wonderful. They're pros at it, so give it a try. It's not as scary as it sounds. And I have not seen if we have some questions or not. It's kind of hard for me to see on the glare.
Yep. And the other thing too is that hump of just getting started, I think is a really big one. I noticed that with everyone at the zoo, that the first video conference, they were pretty much, oh my gosh, this is so hard. What am I going to do? How am I going to learn this? Once they'd done even just one or two, they were like, oh, I'm still a teacher. These are still people I'm teaching. I can do this. And that's also what I've seen a lot of from like the classroom teachers. My daughter was full remote and chatting with the classroom teachers those first couple of days. Like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then eventually they've really gotten into a pretty good routine. All right, so I'm still not getting questions. I should have left more points for them to ask more questions for us. All right, I'm going to give one final call. Does anyone have any questions, anything else they'd like to check out? Yes. Oh, and Kim is reminding me, the zoo is also in the exhibit hall if you're looking to bring any of these virtual programs that we offer into what you're doing. You can sign up for those virtual programs. If you're looking for some advice on how to do virtual classes for your after school program, that'd be a great thing to message Julie about as well. And she can chat with you individually about how they were able to recruit kids for virtual and how she was able to take this staff of in-person educators and get them working on becoming virtual educators and now blended learning educators. Well, thank you all so much from me here in the aquarium and Julie at Sea Lions.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Enjoy the weekend.